In today's video, we're going to make some lemon muffins. These muffins take a little bit more than your average muffin, so we're going to divide this video into 3 parts. The first being making the streusel that will go on top of the muffins, the second being making the muffins themselves, and the third making a lemon drizzle to go on top. So let's start with what you will need for the lemon streusel. We will need 3/4 cups of flour, 1 cup of almond flour, a 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 8 tablespoons of cold butter, and 1 drop of lemon oil. So let's start by making that streusel. We'll take a medium-sized bowl for this. Let's start by adding our 3/4 cup of flour. Next, we'll add our cup of almond flour. Next, let's add our 1/2 cup of sugar. Then we'll add 1/4 a teaspoon of salt. After that, we'll add a single drop of lemon oil. Our final step will be to cut in our 8 tablespoons of cold butter. Once the streusel resembles a course meal like this, we can cover it with some plastic wrap or a lid if you have it, and place it in the fridge to cool. Now that our streusel is in the fridge and cooling, we can start on the second part of making these muffins, which is making the muffins themselves. Now for this portion, you will need a large mixing bowl. You will also need a muffin tray. I have chosen a 2x3, making 6 large muffins. And for the ingredients, you will need 1 3/4 cup of flour, 3/4 a teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 a teaspoon of salt, 2/3 cup of sugar, 2 eggs, 3/4 cup of yogurt. I have some plain Chobani non-fat yogurt, 6 tablespoons of butter plus something to melt it in, a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1 lemon. So let's start by mixing all the dry ingredients in our large bowl. I also have a secondary small bowl for all of the liquid ingredients. We'll add those all together separately and then add them into the dry ingredients. Well, let's get started with our 1 3/4 cup of flour. Next, we'll add our 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder. Then we'll add our 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Next, we'll add our 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And for our final ingredient, we'll add our 2/3 cup of sugar. Final dry ingredient, I should say. It's pretty hot this week in Colorado. We were enjoying a pretty nice temperature for the past month or so, but recently it's hit the 90s, which may not sound that hot if you're from the south, but in Colorado that's pretty hot. Anyway, let's move on to the liquid ingredients. Let's start by whisking our 2 eggs first. Next, let's do our 3/4 cup of yogurt. And I have another measuring cup specifically for this. Next, let's take 6 tablespoons of this 8 tablespoon stick of butter. We will place this in the microwave and melt it down and then add it to this liquid mixture. Once your butter is melted, we'll add it to the liquid mixture. Next, pull out a cutting board, a sharp knife, and a lemon. We'll take our lemon, cut it open. If you have a lemon juicer, you can use that, otherwise you can squeeze it out, but we're just going to get as much juice out of the lemon as we can. And a little bit of zest as well. Add that to the liquid mixture. Add all that together. Our final ingredient to add to the liquid is a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Once we have all our liquid ingredients together, we can add those to our dry ingredients. Blend that all together. That's about the texture that you want for these muffins. They are all ready to go into your muffin tray. At this point in the muffin making process, we're going to pull out our streusel to add on top after we've put our muffin mix in the trays. So first, let's fill up these muffin trays. Now there's a fair measure of muffin mix in each of these. Let's add a little bit of streusel on top. Once we have our muffins with our streusel on top, the last thing to do is to bake them in the oven. So go ahead and set your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to place it in the top 2/3 of the oven for about 6 minutes. And we'll take it out, rotate it around 180 degrees, place it in the bottom third of the oven for about another 7 minutes, or until you can take a toothpick and place it in the muffin, then take it out and it doesn't have any muffin on it. Once your muffins are finished baking, go ahead and let them cool in the pan for about 10 minutes, and then after that you'll want to transfer it onto a cooling rack. But while they're cooling in the tray, we can go ahead and make our drizzle for the top of the muffins. Now for this drizzle, what you will need is some powdered sugar, about a cup to begin with, a cutting board, a sharp knife, a small mixing bowl, and either a fork to juice the lemon or a lemon juicer. So let's start making the icing by putting our 1 cup of powdered sugar in our mixing bowl. You can either strain the powdered sugar, or you can take 2 cups and sort of lightly place it in a 2nd cup, just so that the powdered sugar is loosely packed. Next, we'll take our 1 lemon, we'll cut it in half, get all the juice out. It really is the smells of summer. Once you have the lemon juiced, add a little bit, maybe a little bit less than a teaspoon or so into the powdered sugar. And little by little, add lemon juice until it forms a drizzle that could fit into a piping bag. And if you don't have a piping bag, you can take a regular Ziploc bag and just cut a corner off of it to make a little hole that you can pour the drizzle through. And you can kind of go back and forth, just add a little bit of each ingredient until you reach the consistency that you're looking for. So that's about what I'm looking for as far as the drizzle. So we can set that aside for now. In a moment, we'll fill up that piping bag, but for now, let's take our muffins out of our muffin tray and place it on the cooling rack. And now we can take our icing and our piping bag. And now with a bit of finesse, we can add a little bit of icing on each of our muffins. And here we have our finished lemon muffins. I look forward to trying these out, and I hope you enjoy this recipe. If you do, and if you enjoyed this video, please give this video a big thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next video. Totally. Solid muffin. A bit messy too. Yeah. Lovely. We'll see you next time.